For having us. All right, let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. I'm Stephen Burns. I want everybody to introduce themselves. I'm Stephen Burns. I'm a digital artist. I'm an author. I've written about 8 books in Photoshop. I'll share that with you a little bit. And besides digital artist, I'm an instructor. I teach at several different colleges. Golden West College, Coastline College, also over at Studio Arts. Now, Studio Arts is an educational institution that works only with seasoned professionals, people who've been in the industry for 7 and sometimes decades. Most of my students are Maya artists who are now transitioning over to Blender. Seriously, Blender is that good. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So I want to segue to my friend Nikolai, who is the lead 3D programmer for Adobe.
Hi everyone. Anybody here using Adobe products, 3D or not?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I've been with Adobe for 17 years now. I worked on Photoshop. There is 3D in Photoshop. And now I'm working on the technology transfer projects for Substance 3D Suite. And we're going to be talking more about it today. So yeah, if you have any Adobe questions, let me know. And thanks Stephen for having me here. And off to John.
And, my name is John Eves. I'm one of the concept artists for Marvel and Star Trek. And I'm still a 2D artist. I'm the last of the pencil illustrators. And so I took Stephen's class at a place called Wonderfest in Kentucky. And by far, the Blender that he is teaching is such a wonderful tool. It's very easy to work with. It's very user-friendly. And having Steve and Nikolai here, you can't go wrong with learning something that you might find very intimidating, very hard to learn, and pretty fantastic, these two guys. And so I admire them greatly. And so I started Steve's class, and I had to stop because work was so busy. And now that we had that strike, I could pick up again. So looking forward to learning more about it.
Right. That's right. I keep telling John, now you're on strike, it's time to get the 3D. All right, so I'm going to share with you a concept. This is going to be a type of a concept to creation type of a panel. Let me show you the final render here. So this is what I created. John Eves is the one that designed this. He's a 2D artist. All this is done in Photoshop. I'm going to show you the original designs in just a few minutes. So I took his original designs and I brought it into, and I went into Blender and I just started from scratch, started to custom create this module. So it's an interplanetary module. This was, we went over this yesterday in terms of how I created the environment for this piece. So, and today we're going to talk about my thought process in terms of once I create it inside of Blender, then, you know, how do I get it into Unreal Engine, okay? So, all right, now let me go over to John's work, and I'm going to let John kind of narrate a little bit up here. We're going to go over here. So here is, we're going to start with that one. So I'm going to let John take it from here.
Okay, so what this is, it's a pencil sketch, and I threw it in Photoshop and kind of created the work from there. But this is from the first season of Star Trek Picard. We had a character named Raffi, and she's got kind of a mobile home that she lives out in the desert with. And so we wanted to come up with something in the beginning it was a bigger idea, and it was going to be an entire trailer park of these little units. And so we wanted to find something that kind of had a module look to it and had a lot of windows, but as far as the production went, they didn't want to build interior, so they put like a gold tint on the surface so you can't see in, and all of the dramatic action takes place out on the porch. But here's what the interior would look like, and in the beginning, she wasn't such a rough kind of character that kind of had bad habits and stuff, and she had, in the beginning, she had kind of a nicer place that she lived in. This reflects that nicer kind of module unit looking. So if you'd seen the unit after her character had changed, where she's a little bit more on the rougher side, it would have been kind of beat up a bit. But that's what the trailer park would look like. We filmed at Vasquez Rocks, which is a traditional Star Trek location, And when we funneled it down, it's just one single unit out of Vasquez. But that's all Photoshop work there. I went out and took a picture of Vasquez where I wanted to kind of build up my little environment. And so that's just a gigantic Adobe Photoshop and hand-drawn picture. And from there, the 3D artist took over, and they built a miniature model, and then we had the set construction for them to build a full size. And that's what you got in the end of the single unit.
I'll share some other concepts that he also did. Kind of give you a variety of what he does. And his work looks like it's done in 3D, but it's not. You know, he's so good at Photoshop. He makes it appear so three-dimensional. And then I've got to take this stuff and actually, you know, interpret it in a real 3D program where I have true three-dimensionality space. So this is the Nomad concept, John?
Yeah, this is for season 2 of Picard. We have a kind of a gala NASA event that people go to. And if you remember Nomad from the original series, the little robot, it was actually a NASA probe that was designed by Matt Jeffries, the original artist. And we got to revisit that. And so we kind of took his original drawing, which was that first design, and then we turned it into what you saw there, the blue line sketch and the color sketches. And we actually made a miniature of it that was actually on display in there. So all the other artwork was for the CG artist and the practical miniature maker. And that's why the plans come into play. So anytime I give them a set of plans to work with, it helps out both in 3D, the 3D modeling programs and the practical model work. So, and then the exploded do is just kind of an idea so you can kind of see all the pieces go together.
And this was made for?
And this is also Picard. This is season 1. This is 7 of 9's ship. It's a blur in the season 1. You never got to see what the ship looked like, but that was her ship. And if you're familiar with her character, she's kind of survived being Borgified. And so that technology of Starfleet, humanism, and Borg kind of come together to create this ship. So she basically is the designer of this vessel. And so you have all 3 of those characteristics in the design, from Borg to human to Starfleet. And this is just kind of the concept base of what it turned into.
And you've got to do the weapons.
Always got to do weapons. So, yep, this is kind of the season 1, 2, and 3 of Picard Phaser, and Steve did a beautiful 3D render of it for one of his panels that he had done. And so we kind of went with the traditional kind of Starfleet-y kind of format, and we have the red for kill, the little button that pops up, and the blues for stun, and the back of it has a little ID tag, and we always put little secrets in there. And the code on that's a friend of mine named Marley. She was the body double for Janet Leigh of Psycho, and so she goes, "Oh, I always wanted to be in Star Trek when I was doing movies." So we stuck her birth date in the back. So that's from Psycho to Star Trek. That's a little fun nod we had to her.
All right. So what I would like to do is jump over to this, because this is, you know, I'm sorry, I like the original series Star Trek ship. I just love it, and I think he does too. And you're going to see in here what he's originally submitted to Paramount and what Paramount finally chose. So you want to chat about these? This is all the Enterprise stuff here.
Okay. What the challenge we had was, this was for Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. The series was 10 years before the Captain Kirk era TV show. And so we had a scene where we're going to introduce the Enterprise. And so what we wanted to do was show it just a little bit premature in design before what you saw on the original series. And so this design is kind of one kind of retrofit advancement before you get to the Matt Jeffries ship. And so we took all of Matt's lines and kind of did a little bit of an earlier architectural style. So all you had to do to make it the Matt Jeffries Enterprise was to remove things and make things smaller. And that reflects in the struts and the nacelles and all the detail parts. And when we did this, we built the 3D model, it was all approved, and it went away. And we're kind of stepping stones in the art department. So when it aired on the show, they changed the nacelle struts to angle. They look more like the motion picture. So it was kind of a breach of the timeline in Star Trek architecture.
Right, so this is the one you originally submitted,
That's
right?
the original.
Okay,
yeah.
so if you look at the nacelle struts here, they're matching the original series, which is what I was hoping they were going to go with. So, but they didn't do that. What they decided to do instead was go with, okay, there's another angle of the straight ones. There we go. Let's go past these. They ended up going with that, right?
Yeah, the one at the top is what they
Yeah.
went to. And the gentleman that built this with me is a gentleman named Scott Schneider. He also built this. The original model was Blender as well.
Okay.
And we were both practical miniature makers back in the 80s. We did Hunt for October and Alien 3 and all those kind of movies back then. And we had this long-running friendship. And so he moved into 3D modeling, and I stayed into the practical art department. So we got to team up and do this one together.
Oh, it's fabulous. And there we go. There are the two different designs side by side. So now this just give you an example of how the concept artist thinks. And then when I get to it, what I need to do with it. Okay, so let's look at what happens when I get to it. So we're in Blender. And in bringing anything into Unreal Engine, now remember Unreal Engine is based on realistic environments, right? The whole concept is building a story based on reality. Reality means proportions have to be correct, right? So everything has to be compared to human height size, normal human height size, which is about how many meters are we? About 1.7 to 1.9 meters approximately. So what I have in here, I'm going to kind of show you the stuff that I'm playing with. And I have a little plugin inside of Blender called Human Generator. Let me go find it. It's in here somewhere. There it is right there. It's called Human Generator. And it creates a human character. So I can click on this and select any character that I want, any clothing and so forth, and then import it into Blender. So that was the first thing that I did before I did anything. Because I wanted something that I could compare the height, the size, the space, that's going to look and feel like we're going to be moving inside this thing. I've already created the character. Okay, let me hit the N key to make that panel go away. The N key is numerics in Blender. That brings it back and forth. And here is my character right here. I'm going to select the character, and I'm hitting the period key on the numeric side of my keyboard, and it'll zoom right into my character. So that is about 1.7 to 1.9 human height. So I started building everything around that character. I started off with very, very simple shapes. And in his particular model here, I mainly chose this particular model, so I thought it would be ideal for doing an environment, but also it was simple enough and structured that I can quickly do it before the convention started. Because like most artists, I wait till the last minute to do stuff. So it's basically a standard box, a standard shape, a box with a bevel. That's all this is. It's a big giant cube with a bevel on it. So whenever you're creating in 3D, and especially when I'm teaching my students, one of the biggest problems they have is they look at the detail first. They're enamored with the detail, and they start with the details, and that's not what you do in reality. When you're doing drawing and painting, you're dealing with simple, plain, boxy shapes. That's it. That's all you care about. Get the shape. Look at this, imagine this. Think it's just a big cube. So matter of fact, why don't we just do this? I'm going to select this here. And let's go to a different mode so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go to the shape here. There we go. All right. So this is what I do before I go to Unreal Engine. I'll select it. Let's go ahead and bring in Shift A, bring in Mesh, go to Cube. Everything is done from a simple shape. Let's bring this over to the side. We'll go to my little Move tool. We'll bring it right over here so we can see it side by side. Okay. Now, like Maya, my Maya guy here, it has both a object mode and an edit mode. Your object mode is for your animations, for all of your effects. Your edit mode is for creating. So if I look at I'm looking at his floor plans. Actually, don't I have them in here? I may have turned them off. I may have deleted them. Oh, wait a minute. No, I've got them. Oh, yes. Okay. There. This is John's reference images. See them? See, those are the reference images. Let me turn off the ship. Let me go and select the ship, or the body of it. And I should have that under, I got the interiors, I've got, sometimes I forget where I put things. There's the body right there. Okay, so turn the body off. There are my reference images. If you're gonna do anything in Blender so that you can transport it on over to Unreal Engine, use a reference. Use a reference, use a reference, always. That's going to improve your modeling skills tenfold. Okay? Have something in front of you you can see and touch and understand how to apply these tools to create these intricate little shapes here. Well, this particular model is not really intricate, so it's basically a cube. So let's go ahead and finish it up. Let me go back to my body. I think I called that. There it is, right there. See, it can get messy. That's why I put everything in folders and things. All these folders have additional objects inside them, so I can keep them organized. So there are my references, as you can see. So I set it up like so. And I organized everything to the height of my character. So I would go to the cube just to show you what I did. Tab key, edit mode. We're gonna go edit this. I'm gonna come right over here to the scale tool. We'll scale it as big as I want it, right? Just to kind of just give you an idea of what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking before I go to Unreal Engine, all right? Now, I may decide to, oh, you know what? Why don't we take the top, right? I'm gonna go grab the top here. Go to my face editing mode, select the top face. Maybe I'll bring it up a little higher like that. Okay, and then all I need to do is just kind of take the side like so and just bring it over like this. So if you look at this, all this is a bevel. So I'm going to bring this up a little higher, and I'm going to hit Control B for bevel, and that's what that is. That's all that is. That's all that shape is. Okay, I'm simplifying everything. The windows are a Boolean concept, and I'll show you very quickly how the Booleans work. Does anybody not know what I mean by Booleans here? I can create sophisticated shapes out of another shape. So in Blender, very quickly, I'm going to go back to my object mode. How about if we do, here, I'll get a ball. I'll get a sphere. We'll grab a sphere, select it, UV sphere. I'll bring it on over, scale it up a little bit bigger like so, okay? And I'm going to bring it on over like this. I'm going to take a big chunk out of this piece, right? I might even bring it down just a little bit smaller just to save time. All right, there we go. All right, so I want to take a big chunk out of this piece, select it, and then use a shortcut in Blender, Control minus. All right, and I'm taking the chunks out of this, right? So that's basically how Booleans work. All right, now I've got everything proportional to my character. I'm also organizing everything according to 3D layers. Over here are layers, just like in Photoshop, okay? No different. I put my camera and my lights and my other objects that are not going to be rendered inside a folder called Camera Lights in Action. My reference images are here. You can see here, I put them all in their folder to stay organized. I can just turn them off, like so, okay? So on and off. I've got the platform in its own, oops, in its own, it should be in my own platform, it's different here. Let's click on it, there we go. So I've got the platform, it's in its own group. I've got the body, I should have everything here. I've got the windows in their own groups called glass. They're all in their own layer, these are all 3D layers. Inside each one of these groups is a bunch of different 3D objects. I organized the windows to be all one object. It just makes it life a lot easier for me to work. All right, antenna, right at the top, which the antenna was actually part of the body, to be honest. So I merged them together. So you got an idea how I'm thinking. So I want to bring this inside of Unreal Engine. In the end, ultimately, what I did was I divided this into 2 separate groups. One for the entire body, and one for the platform. so I can have them separate. All right. Now, to bring anything properly into Unreal Engine, export this out as a format that Unreal Engine is going to understand. There are plugins for Unreal Engine to allow me to export the object into our Unreal Engine and then come back to Blender, work in Blender, push a button, and it automatically updates in Unreal Engine. All right? It's called U2, let's see, it's called Unreal, oh gosh, it's U2E, I think, I'm forgetting the name of the program. But anyways, you look right up here, it says pipeline. And you've got an import, you've got an export, and you've got a utility set. This is part of a plugin. Right over here, you're going to see a special export folder right there. Anything that goes inside that folder will be exported to Unreal Engine utilizing this plugin right here. Okay? Now, last year at the San Diego Comic-Con, the audience was like amazed at how I can edit this inside of Blender. And then it automatically updates inside of Unreal Engine on the fly. Unreal Engine has updated their engine recently to 5.0, and now it doesn't work. This is going to be a reality when you're dealing with plugins for Unreal Engine and Photoshop, not Photoshop, but Blender. I'm switching to work in Photoshop too. Those plugins are going to stop working when Blender updates. This new version of Blender I have right now was just upgraded last week. Right? The new 4.0.1, right? Doesn't work anymore. So I can't show you that. So I'm going to show you the right way, the real way to do it. So what you do is you select your object, the object you want to be exported out. You go to your File menu, you go to your Export, and you export as what's called Film Box, FBX. That's a universal format that most 3D programs are going to honor. Why Film Box? Because Film Box is going to recognize and embed your cameras, your lights, your textures, your animations, your objects, your models, everything. Okay? So if you have a Film Box, even from Mixamo, it's FBX, right?
I think FBX.
Right. Anybody familiar with Mixamo? Right? So Mixamo, Adobe owns Mixamo. Let's see if we can actually go show you real quick on here. Let's go here real quick. This would be worth showing you. So, www.mixamo.com, right? All right, so do I need to log in again, or what's going on here? This is the local, it doesn't work, no big deal. I'll just explain it to you.
Yeah, I think you need to log in.
I have to log in again, so this is a pain. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just explain it to you. So Mixamo is a site full of characters with animations attached to characters. Some are running, some are jumping, some are grabbing things, right? You export that as a film box. All that animation is attached to the character. You bring it into Blender, and Blender has all the animation with the character acting within that animation. We could do that, right? So let's go. Now, I'll tell you what, let me explain this way. Go to your File menu, go to your Export, go to your Film Box, your FBX, okay? You're going to get a dialog box that's going to come up. And in this dialog box, you're going to see some options here. When you're working in Blender, it took me a while to kind of figure this out. Working in Blender, you make darn sure that you're going to export these selected objects. Because if you don't check this, it'll export into that FBX everything that's in your Blender interface. Your camera, your lights, even the stuff you have turned off that you don't want to see, it'll export all that as well. So make sure that selected object is turned on. This is how powerful Blender is. Blender is not popular because it's free. It's popular because it has revolutionized the entire 3D industry. Most of my students are professional Maya artists who are coming back to learn Blender, and they're blown away. So here, right at the bottom, you have a geometry tab. Drop it open, and you see apply modifiers. Now remember the bevel that I showed you just a few minutes ago? That can also be a modifier. A modifier is a non-destructive effect applied to your model. Blender is one of the very few 100% non-destructive 3D programs on the market. So all those modifiers, whether you round something off, or you smooth something, or you're adding textures to a monster skin or something like that, those can be modifiers, and then you have that checked, and when you export out as FBX, what you see in Blender matches exactly what you're going to see in Unreal Engine. All right, so you save it out, and you put your FBX somewhere, right? I've already exported out. I believe, I'm going to show you where I put it. Right here under my documents, and there we go, LA Comic Con, and I have one called Objects, I believe, right there. And you can see a bunch of things that I've kind of exported out. I may have another folder in here. Let me go see if I can find, there we go, FBX exports right there. There they are. Okay, so I did some castles, so I was playing all this other stuff, but basically it's going to be an FBX file format. Now, the way you bring it into Blender, not Blender, but into Unreal Engine, let's go to Unreal Engine. I already have it open, and I already have the object in there, but I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm not going to import this in with you watching, because this model has a lot of geometry in it, and it takes 10 minutes to actually import, and you're not going to want to sit here and watch that happen, but I'm going to show you how I did it. Inside of Unreal Engine does something very, very well. It's a gaming engine. It is not Blender. It is not Maya. Right? It's a gaming engine that takes assets that you create, bring it into a world to create effects and fogs and get them to the characters to interplay with one another for you to tell a story. Okay? That is what Unreal Engine is good at. So I brought it into a template. So if I go to my File menu and New, I grabbed an open world template, which already gave me some nice little mountains and skies and so forth in there. You want to work fast in Unreal Engine. And this object is not there. This will be just plain. To bring the object there, Control Spacebar brings up this little panel. I took the FBX object from Windows Explorer, or if you're on a Mac, you're going to be using Finder. I just clicked and dragged it like this and put it right down here in this open space. And it automatically imported my 3D object and their textures. And if you have animation, the animation will be in here also. So here, I called the object Architectural Solo, right? You can see a picture of it right there. That's the actual 3D object. The platform is right there. It's called Platform, right? And if you hover over it, it's giving you all the information in detail. Now, in a few minutes, Nikolai is going to show you some clever little ways to use texturing tools, the texture that can also be used in Unreal Engine. He's going to be using Substance Painter. He's going to show you a little bit of Substance Painter today as well. So that's like a real treat. Anybody using Substance Painter here? Yeah, I got a bunch of hands going up. It's cool, isn't it? It's a great program. So, all right. So there it is. So now from here, it's easy. Once it's in here, you just drag it up from here and drop it into the scene, and it pops right there, exactly the way you see it. So that's where we are now. Okay, it doesn't end there. So you think, oh, this is going to be cool, so my character's going to come in and interact with it, right? So I come over here and push the play button, and the character comes in. Now remember, from the very beginning, I told you that everything has to be proportional to the human height. Look, it worked. There's my human height. All Unreal Engines, all based on human proportions. So I can get her to kind of run around, look at, see? Look at it, perfect. It won't go to the walls. See, she can't go to the walls. She can go around it. Let's see what I got here. I'm going around it to the side. I'm gonna go back out here. I'm gonna turn it around, and I'm gonna kind of like jump up into the thing there. All right. So now I can move forward. See, I can see it moves all inside. Okay. So now take notice of something here. I'm gonna kind of bring her around. I'm using the W key to move forward. I'm using the mouse to navigate her around. So if I try to go through the walls, she can't go through the walls, but she can come through here, right? She can't go over there. She might be able to go through there. I don't want her to go through there. I want to go back right here. All right. So you're thinking, oh, this is cool. I can do something. No, you can't just move through stuff in Unreal Engine. We have something called, what do we call it, constraints? Collisions. Oh, I forget that word. I hate that when I do that. Collisions. All right, here we go. Check this out. So,
Collision is best done in boxes. That's why you sort of, like, whenever you do a collision modeling, you have to sort of represent your model and your character in as simple box as possible. So sometimes, you know, as far as collision engine goes, you are just with one hovering box in space about 1.8 meters high, and
so
everything else is simple.
So we'll simplify what he just said and put it in layman's terms. A collision is a force field around your body, and nothing can penetrate that force field. So when Unreal Engine brings this object in, it's a big square box, like he was just explaining, around the object. It's a big force field, and you can't get through it. Your character will come and bump right into the edge, and it will not get up that platform. So if I play with this now, and I'll go ahead and I'll push play or Alt-P, right? There's my character. Can I get up that platform now? Well, I know I can because I played with this with constraints. I'm going to show you how to handle the constraints later. So now I can go up the platform, boom, 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 boom. Let's go inside, boing. See, force field problem. Right. So how do we modify that? Any questions at this point? No questions? Why, am I that good? Okay. So the way you modify force field, I'm going to show you this last thing, and then we're going to let Nikolai take over and show you some really cool stuff in Substance Painter. You basically come right back down here to your drawer, right? This is where you edit the actual objects. If I want to edit any of these textures, I can just double click on it, and this other window pops up, and here's your texture engine right here, okay? I'll close it out because I don't want that one. So no, don't save it. I'm gonna come back, Control space bar, and we're gonna double click. Yeah, we'll double click on this one here. And if we come over here to collision, there should be, let's see, where's my simple collisions in here? Tell you what we'll do is I'll add, we'll do something like this. Okay, there, see? See that green stuff there? Those are my collisions. See the green stuff in the doorway here? That's why my character can't walk through that doorway. Because there's a force field there. Is that making sense? So if I move back over to here, let's kind of rotate it around. Move it on back, right? This is a little more open back here so that she was able to jump through, but even this is a mess. This is a mess. Unreal Engine does an okay job with, see, this is not what I want to use. This is actually improper, right? So this is called a convex mesh. Convex meaning anything that is broader than 180 degrees. Convex as opposed to concaved, right? So all this mesh is very open. Now, if I want this to be more precise, I come back to my collision. I'll grab the high definition one here. Then I'll come down here for the hall count, which means more detail. Bring it way over to the right. the max hole verts, more detail way over here, and then the precision, maybe I'll add, I think that's okay, but maybe I'll add a couple of zeros or something on there, okay. Now, I'm going to apply it. Let's watch what happens. Sit back and relax. There's its processing, processing, processing.
Will this slow down the performance at all, or do you add
Excellent question. The question is, when you add all that extra, force field, vertices and faces in there, does it slow down performance? Yeah, it can. Yep, it can. So you have to have a GPU. Now look at it. Look at it, guys. Look at it.
All magic comes with a price.
Yeah, it does. It comes with a price. See, now it's a lot more accurate. It's flowing with the actual shape, right? It's flowing with the actual shape. Move it out and around. See, I can come through here now. There's no force field there anymore. So now my character can jump through there, right? So I look at the ground. I kind of get inside the ground. Now see that little up portion right there? See, it does an okay job. It doesn't do a stupendous job. But if you want to learn more about this, you got to take the Blender class. Okay, so with that said, any questions on what I've just kind of chatted about? There's a lot more to learn, but we only have an hour together, right? Yes? All right. I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question. The question was, can you customize this in Unreal Engine? No. How can you customize it? Okay, I'll show you. Blender works really well with Unreal Engine. And the programmers made it that way. So let's go back to Blender. Let's use, we'll use this one as an example. So we'll use this platform as an example. Say I want the floor of the background, this floor, I want this to be open here, right? But I want the floor to be somewhat, I want a force field around it. So this is how you do it. Shift A, we're going to get a square, a cube. Just get a cube, keep it square. I'm going to hit Alt-Z, goes to X-ray mode so I can see what I'm doing. Tab key, edit mode for the square. There we go. Bring it on over. Let's go to the side view. Let's go to the top. Face editing. Bring it down. Let's see, go to the side. There we go. That's going to go to the side. Bring it down. I don't want the feet to go below that. And the bottom, I guess I want to be encapsulated there. Get the side and grab this here. Okay. All right, now from here, let me kind of pull this back. I got that let me get rid of that. This thing here is annoying me. So hit the delete key, get rid of it. Okay, there we go. All right, go back to my cube, edit mode. All right, go get this face here, pull it like this, okay. And grab this face over here and pull it on back, okay. All right, so then I'm going to add a slice here. Have your traditional modeling skills intact. Control R, adds a slice. I'm going to put a slice here, right about there, okay. I'm going to grab the face, okay. Grab that face there. And we're going to extrude it out. E for extrude. Extrude it out like that. Okay? We need another slice for this edge, right? Because I want this open, we want this a force field being around the entire piece. So Control R for slicing, left click and hold and put it right about there. That is good. Grab that face here. Okay? E key for extrude, and there's your force field. Is that making sense so far? Yes, no, maybe so? Is that yes? Okay, so that's your force field. So if we get out of X-ray mode, let's come here That box, that's your force field. It's in its own separate layer, right? Off and on, off and on. That's your force field. Now, how do we make this a constraint? How do we get Unreal Engine to recognize that shape as a constraint? Very simple. Look over here. See the named cube? Number 3. Double click it. Put in front of it these letters. UCX underscore. And then I'm going to put right after it immediately 01. Because you may have more than one. Right? And when you import it into Unreal Engine, it'll see that as a force field, and that'll be your constraint. That's all I'm showing you today. No, okay, it depends on what it is. Okay,
It's
great.
about is related to this.
Okay.
Do you turn off that mirror like visibility when you will recognize it, or?
Well, if you import it in, when you remember when I told you to import,
Right.
the only thing that gets imported are things that are selected. So if you don't have it, there you go, you got it. You just won't see it, right? So if you select it, it'll see it. If you don't have it selected, it's not going to see it.
Okay. I'll wait for the rest.
Duh. All right, Nikolai's next. I'm gonna pass on the video cord to him. Do you need sound too?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you. So one interesting thing that you mentioned is how plugin stuff works on the newer versions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you don't feel that you basically there is no other area in 3D as you feel this as you do with materials.
Yeah.
So right now with digital imaging we have sort of standards like if we have a JPEG, it's gonna look like a JPEG on other devices. If you have a PNG, you'll also be able to open it on another device or on your phone. We are going there, with geometry, with animations. There is little bits of standardizations across the ecosystems, but still there are different ecosystems. And like I said, the images right now are shared between ecosystems. Okay, but and the geometries too, but materials not so much. So what I'm going to show you right now is just a workflow inside the painter, inside the 3D, inside the Substance Painter. But as far as transferring materials from Blender to Painter and from Painter to Unreal, it's not as easy as it should be, I would say. So one thing I can tell you that whenever you create a project inside the Substance Painter, you can select this so-called preset. And the preset that you want, if you want to work with Unreal Engine, is Unreal Engine 4. And if you know Unreal Engine, you know that now is out of Unreal Engine 5, and we still don't have the preset here. So there is another friction here that can potentially, have a bump in your workflow. But know that it is possible. It is possible to create materials in Painter and export them to Unreal Engine 4 or 5. It's just something that I'm not going to be showing today because of time constraints. So, and another thing I'm not going to be showing today is what happens when you load a 3D model inside Painter, because it has to be, the model has to be properly unwrapped and for the material to apply there, and that took about 20 minutes on this laptop. It actually took 20 minutes on my beefy Windows machine at home, so, not bad for that. So, but, yeah, so what do we see when we load the model? We just see the model without any textures. This is the model that Stephen gave to me. And so what can we do with it? Now, you can think about Substance Painter as a Photoshop for 3D materials. So anytime you see a AAA or quadruple A or any kind of serious game out there, it's probably they've done their texturing in Painter. So Painter, you can think about it as Photoshop for materials. And so as with Photoshop, it has a layer stack. So I've collapsed this entire geometry to a single model, single material, and now I'm looking at the stack, and it doesn't have anything yet. The model is completely blank. So on the left here, we have a bunch of starter materials, and so we can select some material to throw it as a background, layer. So I'm just click and drag, and bam. So now we have a material. We have something to start with. And we can adjust some of its alignment properties, some of its styling. So this is like more fine-grained, this is more coarse-grained. And again, with to get the look that you wanted, you'll have to deep dive into details about how the textures are mapped to the surface. But Painter gives you at least some visual idea here. And it is your old friend, the layer stack, which means we can create different layers. We can create different layers of different materials. For example, we can just drag another material on top of that. Yeah. We can blend the materials together. This is a very trivial example, but it just shows you that everything is this element on the stack, and the final material is this composition of these stack effects. Basically, you make it as non-destructive as you can. If you just want something new, you just add a layer to it. So the fun stuff, what makes Painter a painter, is the paint layer. So with paint layer, you select your brush and you select your material. And let's say we're gonna have a material of, I don't know, I'm gonna do something gross like this, organic, something organic. It's called organic flesh. Yeah, and by the way, this is me. I am not an artist. This would be an equivalent. I'm an engineer, software engineer, so this would be equivalent of me opening up a Photoshop, picking up a brush tool, and saying, "Hey, you can do scribbles." And you'll be like, "Cool." So that's the equivalent of it in 3D. But I'll show you what's possible, and you can find the details on your own.
And what's addictive about Painter is that normally you have to create your own specular maps and reflection maps and all of that. Here with a single brush, it does it for you.
Yeah. So now we have the brush. You can zoom in and go ahead and start painting. There you go. You paint a flesh onto our ground. I don't know why, but you do. So there you go, and you can change the color, change the flow, all of your favorite Photoshop properties, and it sticks there. It's flesh. So as I said, this is Photoshop for 3D painting. But another thing that this program has been written way after the Photoshop. So besides the regular brushes, you have a bunch of other brushes. You can simulate a broken glass effect brush, a bullet impact brush, a burn brush, dirt splash brush, fibers, basically everything that you have in Photoshop and more. So there are these simulation brushes that simulate different kinds of effects on your surface. And since we are blending surfaces, not images, there's way more. Way more ways and way more complicated just algorithms to get the look that you want. So where do you have these materials? So now I showed you very basic on how you get the material, how you paint the materials, but where do you get the materials? So materials are like your images or like brushes. This is something that you can, there's a bunch of collections online of that. And to get to one of those collections, you go to this website called substance3d.adobe.com/assets. And then what you do is you just type in the material that you want inside a search. And so we've got thousands and thousands of assets. And for this one is, I'm not going to use the internet live, it's very slow here, but this one I just typed in sci-fi metal, and I immediately get this huge variety of metals, specifically for the and these are all materials. You can now download them, you can put them into Painter, or you can customize them in Sampler, which I haven't talked about, but do we have a little time for?
Oh yeah, we do. You've got 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
Actually,
all right.
More.
All right. So this is and you can search for any sorts of materials here, and these are going to be your starting points. And by default, you're gonna, if you open Painter or other apps or other Substance apps, they are gonna be in this left corner, and you can also search your assets. And these are some of the materials that I've created over the years. And but like I said, they are sort of like your brushes or your images. You can manage them, you can put them into categories and things like that. So, so you can get the materials by just downloading them, or you can create them on your own. And I'm going to show you how. It's another app in Adobe Substance Suite called Sampler. By the way, I forgot to tell you where to get these apps. So if you open your Creative Cloud app, those are the Substance apps are going to be in 3D and AR. Disclaimer: they are not part of your Creative Cloud offering, but you can get the free trial, and then you can see which one you can get. I personally don't like it, but that's just the way it is right now. So so you can see there's this 4 different apps: Painter, Stager, Sampler, and Designer. I showed you Painter, and I'm going to show you Sampler next. So with Sampler, what you do, the Sampler is a simple way for you to create, to start just playing and mixing up materials. So when you open a Sampler project, you just see a sphere. You can select different objects if you want to render it on, but you also have a layer stack of different materials. So, and what you can do is you can just start throwing the materials in there onto this layer stack, and first you can start mixing them up. Just for this simple example, I'm just going to mix up car paint and snow. And check this out. You can offset it with a height, so you can have less snow, you can have more snow, and you can have just a simple opacity blend. This is a very simple opacity color blend, and this is what is called a height blend, because the snow material has its variations in height, and now we blend it with a smooth surface of a car paint automatically. So you can, just by mixing, just by throwing 2 materials onto the canvas, you were able to create this kind of a variety, and you can enhance it even more. One interesting thing is that you can do when you create materials is you maybe get inspired of seeing some material in the real world. So what Sampler allows you to do is to create a material from image. Now we have an AI feature. This is not a generative AI feature, but it is AI nonetheless, which allows you to basically snap a picture of anything you want, or you can generate a picture using generative AI if you want, of a surface, and then say, make it a material for me. So I'm just going to demonstrate it. I have here is a gravel texture. So this is a simple gravel texture I've generated. But you can imagine, taking a surface or something like that in the real world, and you just grab it onto a blank project, and it immediately offers you to create image to material.
So this is creating your various image maps.
Yes. So, but it's creating all these image maps that constitute the material, and this particular material has 5 different image maps. There's base color, there is normals, there is roughness, metallicity, things like that. But it creates it from a single map. So you just click OK. Yeah, that's what we want, and then it starts calculating. And now we've created, I don't know, it created something that sort of looks like a cloth. It doesn't really look like a stone. But this is because the image to material did not recognize it as a stone. It thinks it's ground. So here in one of the parameterizations of the process, you can select, you can say which substance is it? Is it plastic? Is it terracotta? Is it paper? Is it paint? So let's select stone. It runs again, and now it looks more like a stone. Now, one other trick that I can show you here is that you see whenever you map things onto surfaces, you sort of see how it creates these seams on boundaries. Now, if any of the 3D texture artists would know this problem, because the original texture was not tile. And depending on how your photo is, depending on what you fed into the original image, it may be tileable or non-tileable, but if you just say make it tile here, it will try to make it more tileable. And I don't know if you've seen it, but this looks way better than this. Specifically, you don't see these structure lines where texture seems. So yeah, so now what you can do is you can go ahead and export this material. Here in this button you can say send to painter, and if I press this button, I will get it in my library, and then I can paint with it.
I could ask you, if you have a texture that's just a simple picture, can you turn it into a 3D texture like that? Because when we do planets at work, when I do anything in Photoshop, I use the bottom of old frying pans.
Right. Yeah.
Ridiculously wonderful.
But
I'm doing 2D, and so I don't know if that would translate into 3D.
Yeah, that would be, I would say, this make it tile operation. Your mileage may vary because you may want to extend it a little bit so it feels like a seamless pattern. But that's that workflow that you described is exactly what you make.
Oh, and to understand this clearly, what he's doing is nothing but 2D. It's showing it on a 3D object, but everything is doing is 2D.
Yeah. So I just dragged this image into to the image, and that's my start. There are no other materials involved. It's created it out of basically
Your magic.
hallucination. Hallucinated magic.
See, even we get these discussions going on here. Any questions in the audience? No? You having fun? Yeah, great.
Can you
Yes.
show the QR code for your class again? Can you show the QR code for your class again?
I sure will, and
At the end?
we'll answer his question while I'm doing
Yep.
that.
My question was, how does it get the height map information from a 2D picture?
Sorry?
How does it get the height map information from a 2D picture?
That's where AI comes in. It looks at an image and it estimates. It's called the technique. The mathematics of it is called shade from shading. But basically, it assumes since picture has been taken in a real world, you can infer some of these height details from shading.
I've got a question. Would it be worth showing them Photoshop's ability to do normal mapping and height mapping? It's still in there, actually. Do you remember?
The 3D features in Photoshop are being discontinued right now, so
I probably shouldn't show it.
Yeah.
Adobe's got some 3D features in Photoshop where it allows you to create all your color map, your bump mapping, and your normal mapping. It's still there.
Yes.
They're threatening to get rid of it. Right?
Yes. No further comment. I can say Sampler does it better. Sampler can do the same thing.
Okay. He's the boss with 3D at Adobe, so I will listen to him.
I mean, the whole workflow of Sampler is basically doing what you just described and more. So by creating this material right now, I can tell you that I have generated, I've generated the height map.
Does anybody not understand what a height map is?
Yeah, so this is the detail that we were talking about, and it's been generated, it's there. So what I did here in one shot, in just dragging image to material, it created all of the maps, all of the workflow that we just talked about in Photoshop in a single flow. That's why I'm saying, if you want to do that, use Sampler.
And that's why they're discontinuing the 3D tools of Photoshop, because this is where they're going to ultimately. And it's awesome, and you already have them. If you have the Creative Cloud, they're already in your Creative Cloud application. Just go download and play with them. Okay, I should probably mention two things. I'll bring up the QR code per your request. If anybody's interested in the workshop, come give me your name and your email address as well. Just put it right here in this little sheet, but I'll bring up the QR code. Should I? You all okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll plug it now. I've got it up and running here. All right, so for those of you who are who have very little experience in Blender, this class is what you want to take. This goes to the discounted portion of the class. It's a 5-week class, Zoom. Every week is recorded. So you're getting the recording, okay? When this class ends, it goes on to more intermediate and advanced classes after that. So you have the option to continue your education. So this is my personal workshop. It's limited to 8 people only. I keep it tight and small, so it's much more educational. So far, they've been doing really, really well. And they're inexpensive. And if you're interested, if you like, go give me your name, your email address here. I will also reach out to you and say, hey, this happens at the end of January, it's after the holidays, because it's getting close to Christmas. Is everybody ready for Christmas? No? Okay. Thank you for being here. Listen, I'm just happy to see so many people decided to come out and check out our presentation. Did you learn something from this? Was this worth it? Okay. All right. And a huge thank you to my friends Nikolai and John.
Oh, thank you.
They flew out here for this presentation. And thank you to Los Angeles Comic-Con for having us. And my camera people too. All right, we'll be around for a few minutes if you have any questions.
Thank you.